Hey fellow Trek Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie and welcome to another episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. So in today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is reviewing the 5th episode of Star Trek Picard called Stardust City Rag. I really like the name of that episode, Stardust City Rag. It kind of has some sort of Oompa Loompa music or, you know, some sort of feel to it, or polka or something. It's just a neat, fun sounding name to say. This was a very interesting episode, and I kind of went on both spectrums of liking it and disliking it, and I'll talk about that here momentarily. But basically, here's the gist of the episode. Starts out 13 years earlier on some sort of colony. We see a young man with what look like Borg implants being removed from some sort of sinister female doctor. She removes this young man's eyeball, and clearly there was no anesthesia because he's screaming in agony and pain. There's blood all over him. She's kind of taunting him. All of a sudden, somebody comes blasting in to rescue him, and it turns out it's 7 and 9. The doctor, she goes flying away. So 7 and 9 goes to the young man, and it turns out it's Icheb from Voyager who's dying. So we can see that 7 and 9 still loves him very, very much. She feels that that's kind of her son. So what she does is she puts him out of his misery and puts him down, essentially. Then we jump ahead to our present time. The ship is still, the La Serena is still on course for Free Cloud, which turns out is basically the Federation's version of Las Vegas, which is really neat. So 7 and 9 and Picard have a moment where they talk. Picard was talking about how she joined the Fenris Rangers, and he honors that they do, I guess, protecting that area of space. But he doesn't like the fact that they're more vigilante. And 7 and 9 kind of takes some offense to kind of all that and doesn't want to hear any of her that mumbo jumbo. She basically just wants to sit there, talk with him for a little bit, and drink her bourbon. That's basically about it. So we find out that Maddox is still on Free Cloud, but in the episode we see that the same woman who actually was performing the surgery on Icheb, she's some sort of crime boss. Her name's Bajal, I think. Later on, 7 and 9 refers to her as Jay, so I think I'm going to just call her Jay. It's easier for me. All right. She finds out that Maddox is found, but we find out that he feels the Tal Shiar are after him, and he had to destroy his lab to kind of cover whatever evidence of whatever he was working on. I think she was actually going to kill him at first, but then realized he might be worth something, so she held him for ransom. So we get back on board the ship. They reach Free Cloud. We see all these neat little holograms jumping around. The Red Bullion, that big robot. Just some really neat stuff, some really neat effects. What we find out with the characters is they need to go undercover to try and get Maddox. They know that he has been captured. So basically they decide with a plan that they're going to offer 7 of 9 as bait. It turns out there's a big black market for Borg implants, and the earlier that you've been assimilated, as you become an adult, the more you're going to need to have a lot of those parts still remain in your system. So 7 of 9 is loaded with Borg technology at this point. So they know that she would be a high value to this group, whatever. So Rios goes down dressed like a space pimp. He's smoking. He's got his hat with the feather on, everything. He goes and talks to somebody who works for Jay. His name is Vup, and I guess he's a Beta Anari, I believe that his race is, or Arani. He reminded me a lot of the Lethian from Deep Space Nine. With the you can put their hands to the side of your head, and that electricity comes on. They can kind of read your thoughts. He kind of reminded me of that a little bit with the makeup, but also because he has this really strong ability, which we learned on the La Serena, that he can detect pheromones very, very easily. His species is good at it, to the point where they'll know immediately the last meal you had, and even down to the last person you had sex with. You know, so pretty intense stuff. He goes down there, talks to the guy. Picard comes in with 7 and 9 with a bag over her head, basically saying, this is the Borg that we have. He shows them a hologram of 7 and 9's body. They go and see Jay. It turns out 7 and 9 and Jay know each other. I don't know if 7 and 9 ever worked with her before, but it's very heavily implied that they had a romantic relationship together. So I guess 7 and 9 is a lesbian now. I don't know. That's just kind of the way it all fell down. But 7 of 9 obviously was pretty upset with her because of what happened to Icheb. And those restraints that she had on, she breaks out of them. They were probably just loose anyway. They did that so that she could get free. She grabs Jay and basically is saying that she's going to execute her for revenge for what she did to Icheb. All right, and then Picard talks her out of it, saying, no, that's not the way the Federation works. That's not the way humans are supposed to work. Don't do that. All right. So then they beam back up to the ship, and then 7 of 9 says, well, I'm going to go back down there. I need to be with the Fenris Rangers. Oh, by the way, can I have 2 phaser rifles? Picard's like, sure, go ahead, take the phaser rifles. She goes down there, confronts Jay, tells her that she's getting revenge for the death of Icheb, blows her away, completely disintegrates her. Then she goes and kills all of her employees around her. All right, so that's pretty much how the episode ends, but there's also the part with Dr. Girardi. Earlier in the episode, there was a part where we saw her actually watching some video of she and Dr. Maddox making cookies and kissing each other. So obviously they were in a relationship. We're starting to notice in this episode she seems very torn. She's not she was more confident in the pilot, kind of who she is. Now, in the last couple episodes, it looks like Girardi's been kind of getting destabilized in some way. She's getting kind of off her rocker a little bit. I don't know if that has anything to do with Commodore O from the 3rd episode or her coming on this mission. I don't know, but there's definitely, she's not stable. So there were a couple times where she had to rescue the crew at one point where they were down on Free Cloud, and she kind of hesitated in actually transporting them aboard. And the emergency psychiatric hologram, or I'm sorry, I take that back. It wasn't the psychiatric hologram, it was the EMH, but he has a built-in psychiatric subroutine that he's able to sense if somebody's in psychiatric turmoil, he can activate and ask what the state of the psychological emergency is. So he came up twice. The first time was with the transporter. She finally got them up. But at the end of the episode, after everybody's back on La Serena from Free Cloud, Picard's trying to get information about Dodge and Soji. Maddox admitted that he created them and he sent them to Earth and to the Cube. They're trying to get some sort of information about the Tal Shiar, things of that nature. He knows that Picard tells him that Dodge has died, and he's begging for Picard to go to the artifact. This is where Picard finds out that Soji is on the artifact and that she needs to be protected. After Picard and everybody leaves, Girardi starts talking to Dr. Maddox about a few odds and ends, and then, for reasons really unknown, she kills him. Just out of the blue, just completely kills him. You know? So that was pretty much the episode in a nutshell. Alright? So basically, here are the things that I liked about the episode. Again, I said about Free Cloud, that being the Federation's Vegas. That was a lot of fun. I know I've been to the Star Trek Las Vegas convention 3 times. 2012, 2016, 2019. I hope to go more in the future. Alright, Vegas is a lot of fun. So getting down there and seeing the city all lit up and everything, with all the different establishments, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. And then they threw a lot of really great Easter eggs in there. Like Mr. Mott now has his own hair place or whatever he's doing, some sort of cosmetology place. And we see Quark's bar there as well. So it's either Quark left Deep Space Nine and came to Free Cloud and reopened his bar there, or maybe he opened up different Quark's bars throughout the quadrant. That's a possibility. You never know. Knowing Quark, it wouldn't surprise me. We also find out, we got to hear Quark's name being said a little bit. I guess the guy that Rios was pretending to be saved Quark from some sort of issue with something. Was it the Breen? I can't remember who it was, but yeah, he saved his neck from whatever group it was. So it's nice to see that Quark's still up to his old antics, 20 years down the line. All right. The other thing that was actually in this episode, I'm going to bring it up now, is about Raffi. So we finally find out why Raffi actually wanted to go down to Free Cloud and stay. Turns out her son is working there as a doctor. She ended up abandoning her son and her husband after the synth attack on Mars. She became very obsessed with conspiracy theories about the Tal Shiar and the Federation working together to cause that attack and to sabotage the Romulan relocation. So it ended up causing her to drift away, and she just completely went away. So her son holds a lot of anger toward her for the addiction. She wants to make things right, especially since he's now married to a Romulan who is very late in her pregnancy. But the son basically said he didn't want anything to do with her. So, and then he kind of just left her to be, you know. One of the things I also liked was that we're learning a little bit more about the Fenris Rangers. I guess they have some sort of job where they're trying to keep that area of space stable. 7 and 9 joined them because she felt that they were the only ones who were actually keeping peace and justice after the Federation basically abandoned the Romulans. You know, so I'm hoping that we learn a little bit more about the Fenris Rangers. I hope they're just not just some murdering group of people, you know, that are just angry and bitter. I'm hoping that we'll learn a little bit more, you know, some meat to them, and maybe we'll get to see them helping out a little bit with Picard and the crew. All right. I love that Icheb was in the episode. A nice little tie-in to Voyager. I was wondering if Icheb would actually show up or whatever. However, I'm really upset that they decided to kill Icheb off. First of all, I wish they would have had the regular actor that had played him. Manu Intiraymi, I think his name is. He did a great job with that role. And you know, it's one thing, like with Bruce Maddox, they recast Dr. Maddox with somebody new, but Bruce Maddox was only shown one time in The Next Generation. So we've seen many instances of Star Trek characters being recast, like Senator Kretak and Savick, you know, some Damon Bach, you know, people like that. You know, so maybe one-off characters, that happens, okay? But Icheb was in a decent amount of episodes in the 6th and 7th seasons of Voyager. You know, and so we got to see who it really was. You know, so I just think it's a shame. We got Hugh back. He was only in 2 episodes and we got the same actor. I wish we would have had the real Icheb. But it's just, I think they wasted the character. They just had it so they could show the gross, disgusting butchering scene at the beginning to tie in with 7 and 9. I would have loved to have seen, you know, some Icheb and 7 get together. Maybe he joined the Fenris Rangers with her. You know, that would have been really cool to see them still be together. At least we found out that he joined Starfleet like he wanted to. He managed to graduate, and he was a lieutenant aboard one of the ships right around the time of the Romulan relocation. You know, but I think that they missed a good opportunity for some character development there with Icheb. Let's see. The Rio Strati romance is obviously peaking a little bit more. Again, he kind of high-fived her after she punched that hologram's head off. So that's definitely going to be developing more of. And we finally got confirmation that Maddox created Dahj and Soji, and that he wants to learn more about the synth attack on Mars. So that's why he sent Dahj to Earth and he sent Soji to the Cube. Unfortunately, it's a shame that we won't get to see Maddox reunited with Dahj or Soji at this point, because he's dead and Dahj is dead. You know, so but it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Soji's story now. She's basically alone. All right. Some of the dislikes I have for this episode, I'm going to be very honest here. When I first watched the episode, I absolutely loved it. Okay, I still think it's an entertaining episode. But the more and more I started thinking about the episode, and the more of the comments that I started seeing from some of the other fans, the violence was extreme. Very, very extreme. Watching Icheb suffering like that was very difficult to watch. You know, and seems out of place for a Star Trek show. Yes, it wasn't the Federation doing it, but that was really hard to watch, watching somebody suffering like that. You know, and the episode had 4 murders in it. We had Icheb get murdered, Maddox got murdered, Jay got murdered. There's somebody else, I can't remember if somebody else got murdered or not, but there was a lot of death and gore in the episode. All right. I also didn't really like the idea of 7 and 9 becoming this angry character that's out for revenge. You see, it kind of goes against what I feel Captain Janeway taught her back on Voyager about the value of life. And 7 and 9 even showed the value of life back on Equinox Part 1 and Equinox Part 2, when the Equinox crew was killing those creatures so they could enhance their warp drive to get home quicker. You know, she didn't go along with that. She was disgusted by it. And now we have her killing out of revenge. Not only did she kill Jay, but she killed all of her employees. You know, it seemed very out of everything that Seven had learned from being on board Voyager. I mean, situations and circumstances happen in lives where things change, and make us change who we are. You know, it's just, I hate seeing that Seven became so dark and brooding and angry like that. You know, also, Captain Picard has to be one of the dumbest characters in this episode. Okay, why on earth would he give 7 and 9 those rifles after she just wanted to kill Jay in cold blood for revenge? What, because he had that little speech with her? He thought that she was okay and turned the corner? It was ridiculous. I mean, everybody could see a mile away what she was going to do. You know, so basically he's got the blood of all those people on his hands. Because he just let her free. Just take the phaser rifles, no big deal. You know, it was stupid, it was ridiculous. It made Picard look dumb. It really did. Because he's smarter than that. You know. The other thing I didn't like was at the end of the episode when Maddox was talking about he suspects the Federation is working with the Tal Shiar, with the whole thing with the synths. I don't like that Starfleet are being treated like they're the bad guys in this show. That's exactly how it feels. I don't feel any optimism in this episode of Picard, or in a lot of Picard. I don't see a lot of optimism. You know, Starfleet's more in the background in this series, but then when we think of it, it's more of a bad guy. You know, you don't know who you can trust, who you can contact. What happened to that optimistic future that Gene Roddenberry created for everybody? I don't understand why we've gone from this, you know, everybody getting along and working together to this dark future where you don't know who you can trust, and I just don't like it. And I'm not going to speak for Gene Roddenberry. I didn't know the man personally. All I know is from being a fan for 33 years. I can kind of guess what he might think about this, the way this Star Trek is starting to go, and the Federation being dark and vicious and evil. I don't think he'd approve of it. I really don't. I don't think that he would think that this is something that would be happening in his idea of the 24th century. You know, I could be wrong, absolutely, but I just can't see Gene Roddenberry actually agreeing with this. Even though his son is on board with all this, I just don't see it, you know. But those were pretty much the dislikes of the episode. Some of the questions that I have. Why did Jurati feel need to kill Maddox? So what was something she said something about having to do an atonement. So what is she atoning for? So I know we'll get the answer as the episodes go on, but I'm just very curious about that. It's also very interesting that there now seems to be a very big black market for Borg parts. I don't know, is it that easy to start getting Borg technology in random different places? I highly doubt that the Borg are just leaving random cubes or spheres laying around so that people can like salvage them, you know. But I guess that stuff's really lucrative, and I guess it would make sense with the Borg, with the nanoprobes. You know, they have regenerative qualities and features to them. There was also one mention of in the episode about the Conclave of 8 and its relation to the synth attack. I want to know what more of that is, because they only said Conclave of 8 once. So I want to know a little bit more about what that is and how it ties into the bigger picture of the story. So that's pretty much my review of episode 5 of Star Trek Picard. Like I said, it was an episode that I liked, but at the same time I disliked. I'm not feeling this constant murder, no value for life, dark Federation that's pretty much the enemy and you can't trust. I'm not feeling that. But it was a very entertaining episode. It really was. So I'd like to know what you guys all think of the episode. Please comment below the video. Let me know what you thought. I'll give you a response back. Obviously, just go and type in Pittsburgh Trek Chat on YouTube, and it'll take you right to my channel. You can also follow the show on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Pittsburgh Trek Chat, and you can follow on Twitter at PGH Trek Chat. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and until then, may Yins live long and prosper.